Okay. Alright, it's working. Me. Alright. Yahoo. Let's see. Okay. I had to set all that up. Yahoo. Alright. Let me... Okay. First stream with, live chat, yeah. Because all of our other streams haven't had a live chat, so yahoo. Just gonna clean this up more. Continuing off last stream, yeah. So if you have any like questions about anything, feel free to ask. I love questions. And now I can actually answer them live because I have the chat. So just talking to ourselves about some ideas. I did say last stream that I would do this posing of the piggyback off stream, but I think I did well enough that I can do the rest on stream. So we've actually, I don't think we've ever really done a piggyback pose before. It's surprisingly hard. So I think I got it down, kind of. Probably need to redraw your head. Oh. Okay. Let's... So another thing I can talk about too is our Clip Studio layout. You notice it's actually our layout for Clip Studio is very minimal. Everything we've customized, and it's currently like up to our current like preference for everything. So like we only use these two brushes for everything, so that's all there is. But if you actually scroll down, like, no, it's all in the others. We still have all of our other brushes. We just moved it into a different tab, and we can still navigate to them. Our color palette, this is like all the colors for the comic, except for like a few sections that have like a unique palette, but these ones are like the main colors. If I extend it out like this, you can see it's all lined up in like their own little section like that. Oh, how large should I make it? That's fine. How I made these into buttons, you click the little three lines here, right next to the subtool thing, right here, and then you change it to view and tile. So it's that little three line menu. That's how you change it to like little buttons. And here I moved the navigator to be the same window as the tool property, because I don't use this window that much. I also don't use the navigator much either, but when I don't have the mouse with me, which I use to like, so the zoom in and out button is minus and plus that I set on the keyboard, but it's like huge steps. And if I don't have my mouse with me, I can also do like zoom in and out with the, because we're on laptop, you can just use the trackpad. But the navigator also helps with that. We don't really use the navigator as the preview. We prefer have it like this because we often, if you click tab, you'll go into full screen. Well, more like just hide all the menu stuff, so you can more focus on everything. So that's just kind of how we draw, flipping back and forth between having all of the menu stuff and then closing it like that. Okay. Ba-ba-ba. Ba-ba-ba. I think I can copy and paste the eyes. Yippee. Okay. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Aha. Okay. I won't. Yeah, I should fully redraw the face too. Yeah. So usually while I'm drawing, I stare at the top left corner, because that's like the far away preview, so I have a better idea on how things look. I also need to move the bubbles around. Thinking about moving this here. Maybe. This also have. Hi. What do you mean by, only for comics? Doing what? Specifically? Because there is a chat delay. Actually, yeah, I should keep it in the corner. Ugh. I should have this on a different layer. The preview thing? Zoomed out preview? I actually, yeah, we do this on a lot of our artworks. It's just good practice to have a preview window when you always draw. Because a lot of artworks you are gonna look at from pretty far away. So like if you're like working on an artwork like this, you won't be able to see the full thing. And this applies to like any artwork really, but I feel it's most important for comics too, because when you're reading a comic, of course, you're gonna see the full thing. But generally it's just a good practice to have. But yeah, I'm pretty sure a majority of art softwares these days should support like a preview window. That is okay. Like Procreate, you can also have a preview window. Yeah. Yeah, bit there. The reason why I'm moving around all the bubbles is, well, that's the wrong one. Is because since I've updated the artwork, I feel the flow has changed a little bit. So I think it's good to sort of change to reflect that. I should. Alright. Okay, I think that flow is better. So interesting thing, so while we were like going through like the reading, the quote-unquote camera movement from last stream of like the reading, like what you look at while you read, turns out I was actually a little wrong, at least for my case, because while I'm reading Kris's speech bubbles here, I'm actually more so distracted, and I actually think that's a good thing. So let me grab a. So like while you read, let me like reading down here. It feels like I'm more distracted because like when I read this, I'm actually more so wanting to look at all of this. And then, like, this is also pretty out of the way, and this is, like, because it's, like, over here, you also want to look at here. Normally you wouldn't want to do this, because, like, it feels like your eyes are kind of jumping around, like, not really wanting to look at the dialogue, because, like, there's all this here, there's all that here, you kind of want to look at. But I actually feel it's a good thing, because it kind of gives that feeling of, like, you're a little distracted. You're more so looking at the background, just like Frisk. While, again, it still lines up with this panel being, like, its own thing. And then the reason why we moved the bubble from down here to over here, is so that, because over here I noticed that you don't really focus on the face, Frisk's face, so instead if the bubble was right here, which I actually realized was like a good open spot right there, it's a lot more closer to the face, and while you're reading, you're crossing the body, so you're more likely to look upwards. So then, like, you're, like, all distracted up here, and then when you read this, now you're finally focused on something more solid. Yeah, a lot of, brain stuff. Yeah. And I'm also going to have to update the positions on these dialogue boxes, too. But I do want to update them a little after I'm done drawing this, maybe. Yeah. So, while you're making comics, especially, you do want to be a little more flexible with it. Like, being okay with just changing things on the fly, and not being too precious with your work. Because, at least if you're doing, okay, that doesn't, So, like, at least if you're doing, like, digital art, you can always just, save your work as, like, a different file, or what we like to do is, like, save it as, like, a separate layer and just turn it off. So, like, we still have this old face here, which is, like, right there. We just popped it off. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. While you're reading, your eyes do wander. Yeah. And again, it's not something you want to happen on accident, but I think it's very fun to do when you're purposefully trying to do that. So it's always good to remember how the comic will be read. And that there is multiple ways you can read a comic, because people might focus on different things, and it could be good to, like, think about those possibilities, and, like, take them into account, especially if, like, the layout of the page is a little weird. So take, for instance, this page. Technically, this can be read as 4 panels, or 2 large panels, and both actually works. So you can actually read it, like, here. So you can actually read it like this still, and it still makes sense. Or you can read it like this, which is more the likely option that people might read it as. But in the end, both ways still works. Which I find really fun to do. Because comics, it's not a common thing that people do, because oftentimes you do want your page to be more straightforward, just to ease the reading process, but you can do this. You can make it so that your comic reads in multiple ways and still makes sense, or still fun to read. So like here, with this page, we actually also intentionally made it so that you could read it different ways. Let me look at my notes, because I wrote this down somewhere. Oh wow. Okay, I'm not sure how much this holds up. Okay, let me... So, that's one way. And... that's another way. Wait, that's a... okay, this is another way. It's another way. And... and... another way. Let me see how I can, oh gosh. Too many windows. I think I can stack them? Oh crap. Let me... oh, okay, this is gonna be a little... weird. Actually, I think what I can do... oh gosh. Oh, this is so scuffed. Okay. Trust. Okay, this should work. Alright, so this page has multiple reading ways, and that was, intentional. Let me... okay, so, yeah. Okay, let me get my... let me brain my brain. So... this page actually hasn't, this here is a slightly older version, but everything is still the same. I think the only thing that changed is the colors. Yeah. So there's this way, where, you're more so reading fast. So you're maybe gonna focus, like, going from here to the let me grab a brush. So, like, going here, like your eyes going directly here, maybe not looking at them. Because, the reason for that is, like, you might see Kris, and Kris, like, looking away. And then, because the dialogue is, like, split right here, you can just look in the middle, and then you can read both. And you'll see with this motion is that Chara follows the eye motion here. So this way I would consider, like, the fastest way if you're, like, kind of like reading on the fly. You may not really notice their expression here, or you're more just in your peripheral. There's this way, where it's very similar to this one, but, like, you look back. So it's like the same thing, but instead you actually physically look back at them. So you actually read it this way, to the left. So, like, following that motion, Kris looking away, and then you look over, and you notice Chara, like, covering their face, and then Frisk putting their hand on their shoulder. and then the other way, where you actually start looking to the left. So the first thing you look at is actually these two, and then Kris looking away, which still, again, follows the eye movement. So, like, them looking away from, like, the same movement as your eyes, going to the right. All these ways are possible ways to read the comic. So, like, you might be more, like, look over here, and then move right. Yeah. And I feel like whether you look at Kris first or these two first, you're going to experience it a little differently. And I feel that's really going to change your experience of this comic, even if it's ever so slightly. Because, like, in my opinion, if you look at Kris first and then looking at these two, it feels like you're not supposed to be looking at Frisk and Chara here, because it's like, oh, they're crying, oh. But then if you actually look at Frisk and Chara first and then look at Kris, you might feel something different. So it's like, like, stuff, my brain, there's like a lot of different ways the comic might be read, and that's part of what makes a comic a comic. And that's why I also feel comics are their own very unique medium, because I feel a lot of people may feel comics are like lesser form of animation, or just something to do if you can't do animation or something like that, which I feel does a disservice to what comics can be, because comics are their own special medium where has its own things that you really can only do in a comic medium. And using that to your advantage will make a better experience. So, in my opinion, with GBR, I feel it's a kind of comic that feels like it works best as only a comic. I feel you really won't get the same feeling if it's like a video game, or even in like a animation series. It just won't feel right. Because this comic is made first and foremost as a comic, with all the special things a comic can do. Just like being very few panels. You're like still images. You physically have to like read to move the pace along, stuff like that, and also technically having no control because the story's already done. You don't have any influence. It's just how you read. How do I... Okay, that's a spot. And it's also a reason why I feel, I have no clue if anyone will dub our comic, but it's another reason why I feel the usual way that comic dubs are done, where usually for mini comic dubs, you don't show the full page. You usually just show a panel and move them around, which is actually good for a lot of dubs, so you can actually see the artwork better, along with giving more like momentum and all that stuff, and like more visual movement stuff. But personally, I feel that may not work for GBR because this this entire comic is meant to be experienced in a double spread, no more, no less. So seeing the entire page at once, that's part of GBR's experience. So like right here, even though these panels are completely separate, technically, you see like this ground here, it melds into the fourth panel. Or not fourth panel, this is actually the fifth panel. So they like mix and mesh together. Many pages are technically full spreads and separate spreads. Like even this one here, the bottom panel, the bottom two panels, they mix together. They pretty much like continue on, and you won't get that effect if you split up the pages or zoom in, because you're just like a physical comic, you're experiencing the full spread. I should keep working on the... Blah. Variation quirks in different media. Yeah, comics are so fun. Though, funny enough, this is actually the second, we've actually done several comics in the past, but they were more, incomplete, to say the least. Like, trying to do a too big of a project when we weren't ready, and so they never got done. So our big OC project, that's like an original story, we try to make it like 3 times. The most recent version was from 2023, and that reached the longest, which was like 100 and I think it was like 116 pages, but because of what we learned from GBR, we feel we're gonna have to update it again because of formatting stuff. But oh gosh, do we have it? I don't know if we have it as like a Clip Studio file, because that comic we did on Procreate, because it was during a time when we weren't really drawing on our computer. Where did we put it? Oh, we had our PDF. Okay. Okay, let's pop this open. Oh no. Okay, give me a second. Also, don't mind me being sidetracked from drawing. I actually really like talking about stuff. Let me... Okay. Okay. Ew, AI, ew. What is it? Is it this one? It is. Okay, yay! Okay, so, yeah. Yeah, I get to yap. Okay, so, this is the comic. This version is from 2023. So it was long before we started or even thought of doing GBR, so the formatting is a little off. This is all done in Procreate, so the tools we had weren't like very great for comic making, but this is like another comic we've made that's like with the idea of this is a comic. You can see that the layout or the sizing of it is very different from GBR. That's because the page sizing is actually more akin to an actual graphic novel. So like this is like the sizing of like slightly smaller than a traditionally published graphic novel, while GBR is very freaking tiny. It's half a letter sizing for GBR, which is American printer paper, and you cut it in half and you fold it, so that's why it's super small. This one is like full size. That's why I can actually like fit like 4 rows of panels, no problem. So just gonna flip through this. Yeah, we really love this comic a lot, but we really do need to update it someday. We do want to work on it as like the next project after GBR. Yeah. The guppy. Oh, so this one is also a page that we've made that you can read multiple ways. So, oh, this cursor sucks. I hope you can see this cursor. So this too can also read as a full spread along with individual pages. So it can be these two, and then black, and then looking to their friend, and then, or you can read it as like a straight ahead across the page right here, and then looking to their friend like that. So it can be read both ways, and even though the experience is different, it's still readable that way. Man, I miss this comic so much. Oh my god. Whoa! Yeah, and yeah, okay, that's the end. But yeah, let me get back to this one. Yeah. So yeah, going back to the original idea, that spawned everything, there's multiple ways you can do things, and multiple ways you can read a comic, even just a normal page, or whether it's intentional or not. And because it can be intentional or not, like in the order or how you like read it, it's good to like keep it in mind so you can actually mess with it or fine tune it. So like, for example, if we didn't want your eyes to jump around on this page, we can fine tune it so that we alter the background, we alter the text placement so that your eyes don't jump around. So that's why I feel with comics it's good to constantly check how you're actually reading it. Yeah. And it does make me a little sad that comics are often seen as like just a lesser form of animation, because I feel it can be more than that, or something else entirely. I also like to compare comics more to, let's see, comics, I like to compare comics more to the idea of like, say like a storyboard or animatic, specifically a storyboard or animatic. So like scene by scene things, or like keyframes of animation, but then putting that storyboard and putting it dynamically on a single page, because that's pretty much what a comic is like, basically. You're putting like key moments in different parts, and then you're spacing it out, but like instead of like same sizing, you're spacing it out, sizing it differently, but it's still the same idea of like keyframes, key scenes, such like that. And in my opinion, comics have more in common with film and animation than it does with illustration. At least if you're doing it more dynamically. Because of course there's different ways to make a comic. You can actually make it more illustration based, but if you're doing it more of like these kinds of comics where it or like your average like mangas or something, those have more in common with animation. Because the reason why for that, instead of being more like illustrations, even though it's just still images, is you're pretty much seeing movement, and implying movement, when there technically isn't any movement. Animations, they don't move. They're just artworks that give that illusion. They're just placed in a sequence, and because it's viewed in that sequence, it looks like movement. But in reality, they're just still pictures, and that's also what comics are. I need to move their full body. Yeah. So, like right here. I had to move their head. Just off to the side. Okay. So yeah, I wanted to do a self-dub of GBR. How that's gonna work is, it's going to be a dub, but without any direct edits to the visuals. How I would explain it is that, just imagine this full page, and that's what you see. So like on like an 1920? Like 1920 by 1080p screen. So like usual screen is just a full thing, because this actually fits in very well with usual like rectangle video format. And messing with it, we tried doing like blocking out. Here, let me just grab this one. So we tried doing a thing where another thing that some comics do, or comic dubs do, is where they would do something like this, where they would like block it out, and then they would show the next panel, and then the next panel, like that. But I tried doing this with GBR. It doesn't work, in my opinion, because again, how you experience the comic is that it's meant to be experienced seeing the entire page. If you're not seeing the entire page, even if technically the text spoils what happens, if you're reading it, you're not gonna see the later text right away, unless you are actively wanting to look ahead. Or even if you do look a little ahead, that's just part of comic medium. So I don't know how to explain it right. Because doing the blocking out thing, you're pretty much controlling what the viewer sees, but that's not at least what GBR does with how it does the comic. It doesn't control what you look at. It just gives a suggestion, but you can completely go off path, similar to any video game, like that, or just any other illustration where you can just look at anything. Because people are gonna look at pages at a different timing, people are gonna read at a different pace, things like that. And again, it'll remove the aspect where things go across the page, and that being part of the experience. So, to get to the point, we're not gonna do the blocking. It's just gonna show the full page, no edits. It'll just only be our voice on top with some sound effects. The entire page you'll see all at once. Yeah, that's pretty much the idea we went with, and we tried doing both ideas. We compared them and found that indeed the full page itself is the best option for our comic, at least in our opinion. Which, of course, it won't work for other comics, but that's just how it works for this one. At least, and what we're gonna end up doing. Another thing is also it's a lot less work for us too. So, yeah. And I would also compare the dub that we're trying to do, which it's a little still up in the air on if we're actually going to be able to do it, because we did some of it. It turned out decent, I think. But it's also just I don't know. Oh god, I lost my train of thought. Oh, right. I would consider what we're trying to do with the dub, if it ever comes out, is gonna be more akin to an audiobook kind of feel. Which I feel it's gonna be pretty fun. So, yeah, that's the idea. And I feel it's very fun to keep that comic aspect because if you're not blocking out the page and you hear like speaking lines, you pretty much have to follow along, like reading that text too, or you can just completely ignore the voice lines and just kind of stare at the page. Like, you can do that, and I like giving that option. I think it's like a better marriage of the two ideas of like it's a comic and along with being a video medium, because video mediums are more linear and like more controlled, and you can't really naturally like pause and look unless if you're actively actually pausing, stuff like that. Oh my gosh, I think I did the pose good. Yay! Okay. Yeah. Okay, Yay, poses! Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is work on the hands. Hands! Working on GBR really helped us be more comfortable with drawing hands, especially because we learned how to do it like our own special way. And another reason why we're focusing on hands a lot is, of course, the whole thing with like Gaster and everything, but we also... Oh no, hands. Yeah. Hands are still hard to do, of course, and of course our hands are not going to be perfect, which is also slightly intentional. We do want them to look a little funky. But you know, like the whole thing with like Gaster and everything, but we also like to see hands as like creation. So focusing on the idea of hands and all the character hands, I feel it's like a very fun aspect of GBR that's like not directly said, but is like a pretty strong visual motif. Okay, so fun fact, let me see if I can find it. Give me a second. Symbolism! I love symbolism. Oh my, were we still drafting that? Oh, we were still drafting that. We had another thing that we were gonna write a little post about, where it was like the first draft versus release of part 0, the prologue. So this was the first draft, and let me... And this is the final draft. So you can see there is a very clear difference here, and I want to focus on the right page that pretty much changed the entire feeling and intent of this comic. So on the first original draft, there was going to be hands here, which was supposed to be like idea of Gaster, you know. But we completely removed that. That's no longer canon. And instead, but instead of having those hands at the end, here, let me... So, let me put that. So, but, to compare that, I think this is a better comparison. Oh, that's a fun interpretation. But the intent, with the original scene here was that it was going to be, like, possibly interpreted as, like, Gaster has to do with something about this, but we completely removed that. Gaster's not here. But you'll see here every depiction of their face and everything here, it's now replaced with hands, and their eyes are never shown. Only their mouth is shown, all that. The main focus is their hands the entire time. Which is different in the original version where it just had headshots and stuff like that. While here, it's more hidden, their faces are more hidden, more focused on their hands. And that was to replace this original idea at the end here with the draft, first draft. To go with, like, hand motif, even on the sketches, we do want to pay a lot of, like, close attention to, like, hands and their hand poses and such, because, idea of, like, creation, helping each other, and such like that. And how, like, a lot of, like, you can see a lot of characterizations of, like, how they, pose their hands and such. Which we actually did with their rep sheets here. Which I actually find really fun to do. We actually paid attention to their hands. So, to start with, we intentionally made it so that their sleeves are all different. Just from looking at their hands, you can tell which character is which, even in grayscale. So, like, Chara has short sleeves. Kris has, like, a straight cut here. That's like a sharp sleeves, while Frisk is more rounded sleeves. And Frisk here has, like, loose hands. Chara has more of, like, this, I don't know how to explain this pose. It's just, like, nonchalant. But, like, it's kind of like holding them down like that. Or, like, more free. And while, Kris here, I actually really love doing Kris's pose on this rep sheet. Because even though their design and everything about them is supposed to look more soft and kinder, their hands are held in a fist. So I like to think of that as, like, determination, or, like, strong, like, feeling, such like that. And that's also intentional with, like, how their hands are posed on the grayscale reference here. So that's also a thing. Grunkly. It's also just a great practice too. The creature. And speaking about hand poses, we also like to pay attention to like body language, like character posing and all that. Okay. Howdy. Puppy. Puppy. Okay, there we go. So, like paying attention to like posing and body language is also part of like what we said like last stream about like having things that you will only really like the information you would only get if you pay attention to the visuals, and it doesn't always need to be clear, nor does it always need to be subtle. And I feel there's Buppy! Hello! Hi. You've come. Yeah, I've been rambling about things. It's so good to see you again. It's been, I don't even know the last time you've been in a stream. But yeah, hands. I can also show how we draw hands if anyone wants to see how we currently draw hands. We're no expert. We just found a way that drawing hands in our style works. We honestly don't really care too much about anatomical accuracy. We more care about the feeling of it, so it's been a decade. No, that's true though. That's true. God, I can't believe it's been that long. But hey, now our setup is decked out. It's not on cruddy, what was it, Google Hangout? The Google Hangout streaming thing that, that YouTube used to have like its own streaming function that was Google Hangouts, but then they removed it, and so like you practically have to use a streaming software to stream, which was annoying and made us really sad. The classic, yeah, the Google Hangouts classic. And okay, I can show how we draw hands. After I fix up this hand. Like, with this one, I feel like we don't really need to see, like, individual fingers. How do you draw hands? I don't know, man. Okay, give me a second. I will actually show. I just want to fix this up. Oh. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. I'll keep that there. Let me... Okay, so how we draw hands? Yippee! So we're actually, so we started as an animal artist, which I know you already know, but it's just, generally to other people. We started as an animal artist, and so, oh gosh, it turns out I'm pretty rusty. We learned how to draw, paws and, animal anatomy first, so like dog paws, wings, stuff like that. So, and another one is, bird talons. So like that. And reason why we point that out is, we use that as a part of how we draw hands. Let me move this. Just gonna have this here so you can see. I did this silly. This guy's more clear hands here. Whoa. Okay. So, when we, do it, we also, usually we would actually just pose the arm first, because usually the arm pose would, like, change up the hand pose and such, but let me just, the basic shape you want to do is, like, this sort of shape. I forgot the name of this shape. Then you, like, for the fingers, you want to do, 4 equal spacing. And then, for our usual style, at least with GBR, we like to think of it as wings. The fingers as wings. And then we just kind of be more loose about it. So like that. And so, another thing to keep in mind, this right here will always be, like, the solid endpoint is, it shouldn't go over it, like, and then the 4 equal spacing, and then you can just draw your fingers like that. Usually we're very loose with it. We don't really measure or check a lot. And then there's a thumb. Remember, it like aligns here, and then this part aligns here. Let me... So like that, and then... and then that follows there. Mysterious box shape, yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much basically how we do it, and reason why we point out these 3 specific animal stuff is because that's the main inspiration for how we do hands. So like, this one is more like a wing. So, the almighty trapezoid? If that's the name of that shape, heck yeah. I don't remember shape names. So yeah, thinking about it in more of like a freer manner, I don't really, because we like to think of more of like the feeling. I feel like the feeling of it is more important. So like, these ones here are more like a wing. So like that. Let me change the color. It's yellow. Wait, blue. So that's kind of like a wing right there. And then how we started with is when we first learned how to draw hands, of course, like with a lot of people who start, we pretty much just draw hands like, we used to draw hands more like paws. And it actually works. If you really want to, you can just, yeah, you can just think of hands as like a funny paw, and it works. The goat. Wing hand, yeah. And we still draw hands like paws if it's like a funny chibi. So, like, it still works. So yeah, and then like, if you think of it as like paws, and then just extend it slightly outwards to make it like more longer, you can make a hand if you want, like that. So you can do like hand paw. And like, to make this more into a hand, you just extend them a little, and boom, that's a hand right there. A funny looking hand, but it's still a hand. I think it would look more better if it was like stretching their hands up like that. But yeah, I find like doing it more like a paw is better for if it's like a more chibi or tinier. Like, that's a paw right there. Look at their paw. And another one that we find is more, if you want to do a more realistic hand, is if you're used to drawing bird talons, if you look at your hands, that's practically a bird. So like, there's that. Like, that's a finger. Like, if you like draw a bird, that's a hand right there. So when we want to draw a more realistic hand, we would think of it more as like a bird hand. Oh god, that's gonna look horrible. Okay, so like more of like group sections and like Kirby, stuff like that. Yeah. That's a bird. So like, yeah. But personally we like to do it as like a bird hand, bird wing. Bird. Oh, I guess I can recolor. Bird. But yeah, that's just how we draw hands. Let me. Hands. Yeah. Yeah. Silly. Many ways. But yeah, we like to think of it as more loosely, just think of it like, so to go over the idea again, at least our main way of drawing, drawing hands, have your special box shape, and then that, and then that, it's like that is, equal spacing, that's a paw, and then you draw a wing. I'm sorry. And then you draw the thumb. And then, oh no.